Hi, welcome back to Intro to Graphic Design. We kind of have a big week this week because next week is Thanksgiving break, so we won't have any class. And then there are only 2 class periods left after that. We're done. So how fast was that semester? So today we're going over chapter 16 and 17, so Bauhaus and Modern Art in America. I'm going to give you a really brief intro so you can spend your time reading the book and taking the quiz. So Bauhaus was a pretty interesting art movement in graphic design because what it is the Bauhaus school was invented in Germany, and what this did for graphic design, it was a graphic design school, and that had never been done before. So now people are putting words on things and they're saying, this is our belief on graphic design, this is how we're going to teach it. It was invented in Germany by an architect, and ironically enough, it didn't even have architecture for the first year. Maybe even the first couple of years, I think. But anyway, this is 1919 and 1933 in Germany is the Bauhaus school, and that just inspired a whole way of teaching design and explaining it and explaining theories, not just like stumbling into it. So that was a really, really monumental thing about Bauhaus. Stylistically, Bauhaus is all about deconstructing typography, so taking something, pulling it apart, and putting it back together in a new way. That's why you'll see like crazy typography that's not really that legible. It's kind of exciting for design, and a lot of great poster design came out of that. A lot of exploration with typography came out of that, and it really, really was a nice segue into the modern art movement. Okay, so chapter 17 is about the modern art movement in America. So you have to understand that all these movements were happening globally. So modern art became really popular in Europe and Russia and all these other places. But the modern art movement didn't really pick up steam in America. People were rejecting it because they liked the more literal artwork. And the modern art movement was all about all these changes that were happening in war and kind of rejecting perfection and starting, rejecting that Enlightenment thinking, trying to seek a better way to represent reality in a new, more industrialized world. So that was the whole thing with modernism. And at first people thought, this typography that came out of Bauhaus is bananas. It doesn't even look good, no one can read it, it's crazy. So it took a lot of steam for that to pick up. And eventually it did start picking up, and you started seeing that in book design first, which then of course led to magazine design. And fashion magazines loved it. Fashion magazines loved the symbolic, almost political statements that design was making at that time, or playing with images or reflecting images. And during those war years, obviously there was a lot of propaganda happening, like we talked about last week, but now it started to become very figurative, kind of imaginative, sort of bright, blocky colors that maybe didn't make sense at first, and you had to kind of really stare at something to understand it. And then after the war, people were a little disillusioned, trying to rebuild, and so that was reflected in the artwork. It's a little less propaganda-like and a little more like at-home, boring scenes, I guess, things like that. And then information and infographics started to really become popular, scientific graphics. So now it became about organizing information in a really neat way. And that was basically how graphic design worked in American modernism at the turn of the century. So I hope that was helpful, and here's the assignment. So for your assignment this week, I want you guys to make a ski poster for Whitefish Mountain Resort in the Bauhaus style. You can use a computer, finally. It's okay to use computers in this class. So you can see some really great examples on page 348 and 349. So as you can see, it has the name of the place in huge letters. So you can say Montana, or you could say Whitefish Mountain Resort or whatever, but let's do one about the ski resort here. And you know what? I changed my mind. If you want to do a different ski resort in Montana, that's okay, because I realize a lot of you are taking this class online because you live in different places in Montana. So as long as it says Montana somewhere on the poster and you pick a Montana ski resort, I say just go nuts. You can use a computer, you can use art supplies. That's the only requirement, is it has to be in Montana. So go ahead and make that and upload it to the forum, and don't forget to leave 2 comments on others' work per usual, and we'll see you next week.